Be kind to your leaders. What is this? Matt reminds me of the protagonist. Sorry.
No, I was
Switch
talking
to the other
about,
page.
well, it's kind of related. I was actually thinking about that when we were doing our little pre-show rambling, that about when soons and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Splinterlands has really if you look at like every kind of crypto startup, that's been around for any number of years in the space, the ones that are still alive at least, we've all been struggling pretty heavily. So, we were talking about that pre-show, talking about the price of Leo and whatnot. And I was thinking about, Splinterlands and some other founders that I know of. And obviously, the SPS token is kind of at all-time lows. And there's some things that they've been talking about doing for a long time. And they've been working really hard on those things. That being said, it's being a crypto startup is like being a startup with amplified risk and headaches. And you're also kind of, and I also have described it in this way, you're kind of like being a public company CEO while you're still a startup. So it's like you're going through the headaches of being a startup, but you're also doing it in public, and you've got a token that's kind of akin to like a stock price in a way. So like for someone like Matt, who's the CEO of Splinterlands, like he's got like double trouble on his plate, because he's building a startup and he's doing it in a way that's very public and with the crypto ecosystem built the way that it is. And I feel a lot of those same headaches. But if you look at, a lot of different crypto startups, it's a really tough business to be in. It's definitely not an easy line of work. And I think that, most of us, people like Matt, people like me, we could be doing other things and probably having a much easier time at life. But we choose to do this stuff because I think we love it. I think if you look at all the crypto startups that have survived more than say 1 or 2 years, the founder has to be someone who really enjoys it because it's just like headache squared. So my point of that thread was that someone shared on X, I think it was Gold Matters, to be nice to Matt and Ahmad Manga said, "Who's Matt?" It's Yaba P Matt from Splinterlands. So Gold Matters was saying be nice to Matt because I think there's a lot of people kind of talking shit about Splinterlands and upset about token prices and whatnot. A lot of those people tend to forget that the crypto space is a really difficult space to build in, and also the altcoin kind of season or altcoin market has not really heated up yet. So I think a lot of us, smaller projects with smaller market caps haven't really seen the love of the bull market. Most of that value has flown to Bitcoin. Even Ethereum is, I think 50, 60% off its highs or whatever. So, it's definitely been a difficult time. I think, the past couple of years has been really, just speaking from my experience, very difficult. And then hearing constant complaints kind of gets to you, it can get under your skin. So that was the point of my thread, was be kind to your leaders, because it is building in crypto is it's literally building a startup squared. You get the highs of building it are a lot higher than building a normal startup, and the lows of it are a lot lower than building a normal startup.
Well, that's the beauty of it though, right? Because you're essentially in that scenario, building a startup, like you said, but you're doing it in a complete, well, not complete, but as close as we've seen in our history, transparent environment, right? Most startups, no one knows what's going on behind the scenes or what's going on with their books or whatever that is. You know what I mean? They're only sharing that stuff if they're basically doing a capital raise or things like that. So, like I said, it's literally like building a startup essentially on steroids because you have that transparency. Everyone literally can see what's going on day to day. And, most of everything is on the chain. So yeah, it's definitely a more volatile experience for lack of a different word. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Tass said there's no mark to market with startups unless they go for a new round of funding. With crypto, it's there for everyone to see, which doesn't reflect the value of the project, which is exactly right. I mean, if startups were mark to market in real time, literally, I mean, if you think about how crazy crypto is, and the best way to do it is to think about the markets, both private and public, going like 10 or 15 years ago, and compare it to how crypto is today. Markets used to be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it's just like banking hours essentially. And then when you look at crypto, it's literally 24/7, 365, mark to market every second of every day. And by the way, it's not just public companies, it's companies that would normally be private as a startup. And like Tass said, you would get your startup would get valued maybe one time a year when you go for more funding. So it's not like, it's unlike anything I think that we've ever seen before, which means that there's a lot of value here, but it also means that there's a lot of trials and tribulations. But I'm reading, I mentioned it last week too, but I'm reading this book by Tony Robbins, his latest book about finance, and it kind of focuses on alternative investment, forms of investing, and he talks a lot about startups and investing in startups and GPs, but he's talking obviously about like private equity. So he's talking about, how can you get access to these private deals where you can invest in startups and invest in the people who invest in startups. The beautiful thing about crypto is that you guys are able to invest. All of us are able to invest in various startups, whether it's, Splinterlands or others, or Leo or whatever. You're able to invest in startups in a way that normally only private investors, accredited investors, or people who had a lot of net worth and the right connections could normally only get access to those types of investments. So crypto has opened up this entire world of kind of startup investing to the average retail investor, which obviously brings the ups and downs of it because you can invest in things that normally you couldn't invest in, which means that you can invest in things that are very early on in their life cycle.
So I think with all that said, I'll speak for the community on a whole when I say to Cal, when?
And on
When
behalf
Moon?
of the whole Leo team, I say soon.
Exactly.